This isn't just a story about a mountain. It's really a story about a promise. A promise made way up at 12,000 feet. And it's about the incredible journey two people took to make that promise a reality. What's so cool is that it all started with just one person, but it ended with two people finding a totally new version of themselves.
Yeah, that quote, we're starting with that because it just gets right to the heart of this whole thing, doesn't it? I mean, think about it. In the middle of our crazy, busy lives, the 9-to-5 grind, family stuff, it's so easy to kind of lose a piece of who you are. Well, this story, it's all about finding that piece again. So where does a promise like that even come from? Well, believe it or not, it doesn't start with two people. It starts with one. It all begins with a solo journey, an experience so profound that it just had to be shared. All right, so picture this. There's this guy, Rahul, on his first ever trek to a place called Kedarkantha. And he has this experience that he says was, well, life-changing. He described it as jaw-dropping, mesmerizing. One of those moments that completely changes how you see everything. And what do you do in a moment like that? Who's the first person you think of? Exactly. The person you want to share it all with. So right there, from that very summit, he calls Anjali. And he makes a promise. The next time he does this, it won't be alone. It'll be with her. Okay, let's fast forward to December 2023. That promise? It's now officially a plan. They go ahead and book the Chandrashila trek with a group called Indian Hike. And just like that, the dream of a shared journey was on the calendar. It was happening. But here's the thing. For Anjali, this was a totally new world. I mean, this wasn't just another vacation. This was her first mountain. And the reality of what that actually means, well, it was about to hit. And let me tell you, it was going to hit hard. So the journey kicks off at a place called Sasari Village. And over the next few days, this group of 22 people, total strangers at first, start making their way through these absolutely stunning landscapes. They stopped at Diordal Lake, and you have to imagine this, a lake so perfectly still you can see the mountains reflected in it like a mirror. Just gorgeous. From there, they moved on to Siamali and then to Banyakant. But, behind all that beautiful scenery, there was a really grueling personal struggle going on. For Anjali, this was a serious test. For 3 days straight, every single day, she was the last person in the group to make it to the campsite. Okay, so this brings us to day 4, the final push to the summit. And this is where everything changes. The group is now literally racing against the clock, and the stakes are about to get ridiculously high. So there's this really crucial concept on these big treks. It's called TAT, which stands for turnaround time. And basically, it's a super strict, non-negotiable deadline. If you don't hit the summit by that specific time, you have to turn back. I'm serious. It doesn't matter if you're 100 meters away or even just 10 meters from the top. The rule is absolute. It's all about making sure everyone gets back down the mountain safely. Okay, so with that intense pressure in your mind, picture this scene. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. It is pitch black outside. The group starts their final climb. The trek leaders split everyone up into 3 smaller teams, and then something totally unexpected happens. Anjali, remember the person who had finished last every single day? They put her at the very front of the first group. She's the one setting the pace now. The success of her entire team, whether they beat that turnaround time, it all rests on her shoulders. Can you imagine? This is the moment everything has been building towards. For someone who had been struggling just to keep up, being put in the lead like that, it's just this immense test, not just physically, but mentally. So the question is, could she do it? Well, as it turns out, the answer wasn't just about getting to the top of a physical mountain. The real victory, the real summit, was finding what was inside of her the whole time. So get this, Rahul, he was in the same group, but he actually had no idea Anjali was leading. It wasn't until they took a break that he looked up and saw her at the front of the line, and he was just filled with this immense pride. Anjali hadn't just kept up, she was leading the charge. They climbed that last bit together, and yeah, they made it. They reached the summit before the turnaround time, right as the sun was starting to come. And you can just feel the emotion of that moment in this quote. At the top, they just hugged, and there were tears in their eyes. It really wasn't about the view anymore. It was about everything else. The shared struggle, the promise he made to her being fulfilled, and her own personal victory against all the odds. It was a feeling they said was just completely different from anything they'd ever felt before. So why does a story like this matter to us? Well, because experiences like this, they do so much more than just test our bodies. They force us to completely disconnect from the daily grind, They challenge us to push way past what we thought our limits were. And when you do that, that's when you find that part of yourself you might have lost along the way. That's how you rediscover your purpose. And that really just leaves us with one final thought. Look, it doesn't have to be a literal mountain, right? But it is worth asking yourself, what's the mountain in your life? What's that one challenge, big or small, that if you really faced it head on, might just help you find yourself again?